Hi, this is Leigh Daniel, and we're going to start now with the first part of the book. And it's all about the reasons that people get divorced. I talked a bit about it just a second ago in the first video when I was telling you some of the reasons that people get divorced. But some of the most common things that I see people divorcing about are just that they've grown apart. I see a lot of people that are in their late 50s, 60s, even 70s that are getting divorced. I saw a woman a couple of days ago and she said, I'm almost 70 years old. I'm not going to get a divorce now. But the thing is that your happiness doesn't have an age limit on it. So if you know how unhappy you are, and maybe you're even in an abusive situation, then I urge you not to stay in a place where you're miserable. And, some people would argue, well, you've done it this long, but I just don't think that that's what you want to do in the last years of your life is to be in a situation where you're unhappy or someone is mistreating you. Some other things that can come up besides somebody mistreating you is just you grow apart. You've been married a long time, you each have different um, interests, different friendship groups, and you just don't have anything in common anymore. Maybe your kids are grown and you don't have anything left after the kids are out of the house. There are also financial difficulties. I have a client right now who said that they're about to retire and he realizes that because he hasn't had any support from his wife that they don't have enough money and he said I've tried budgeting, I've tried asking for counseling, I've tried everything and I've given up, but I don't want to keep living like this because I want to retire. So financial aspects come into it. And then, of course, you have adultery. I don't see it as much as I think I used to see it. I'm not sure why, but a lot of times adultery is part of why people are getting divorced. Might be because they're interested in somebody else and they haven't taken it to the next level. It might be that they've rekindled emotionally with someone, or they've met somebody at a business conference, which I see kind of a lot, or they work with someone and they have taken it to the next level. And when you do that, maybe you've told the other person, or maybe you haven't, but you don't want to be married anymore. Or maybe they've caught you. And once you've been caught, maybe they are just like, no more. I had a woman that had been married a long time and she found out her husband was cheating. And then she says, let's file a divorce. Then he talks her out of it. Let's dismiss the divorce. A few months later, let's file the divorce again. I think we're in the divorce stage. I mean, the dismiss stage right now because she just kept going back and forth. She couldn't decide, even though she knew that he was being really unfaithful. My opinion is that it's really tough to get past that. And generally, if somebody has cheated, it's going to happen again. But that's just my opinion. It's not legal advice, right? Along with my book. And so those are some things, stepchildren are often a problem when you get married because there's different parenting that you wanna bring in, or they don't get along with you, the stepkids, or the blended family problem. Maybe there's jealousy, or maybe there's just a lot of infighting with between the parents, and you don't wanna be involved in it. It's too much drama. I didn't ask for this. Lots of reasons that a third blended family really doesn't work out, really causes problems and the marriage doesn't work out. To talk about all the reasons that people wanna get divorced, there are so many. Maybe you just made a mistake from the beginning and you knew it and you just went ahead with it anyway. I have to say that's kind of what happened with me. I was young. I thought that I had to get married because, in Alabama, when you're around that college age and you're graduating, you should be thinking about getting married and having kids, or at least that's what my family taught me. And so I got married, even knowing that the man that I married was an alcoholic and that there were substance abuse issues even more than that. And even though he went to rehab, I knew that things weren't right, but I did it anyway. And sometimes parental pressure causes you to stay married when you know it's not the right thing for you. Your parental pressure, or maybe because you think I should stay married because of my kids. Well, your kids probably know that your marriage is not as perfect as you might want them to think. Kids rarely don't know. Maybe they're too young to put it into words, but they can feel the tension, they can feel the hostility. And so that impacts them. In the course of my career, I've told many people, if you don't want to do this for you, think about what you're showing to your kids. So why else? Maybe you've decided that you want to go a different course in your career and your spouse is not supportive. I've seen that happen. People want to move or they move to Huntsville from someplace else and the other party's really unhappy. I don't have any friends here. I don't have any family here. I'm all alone. So there are just so many reasons. This substance abuse, I just mentioned my own cross to bear. And then there's drug use. There's also physical abuse and verbal abuse. I have a client right now who has been so abused by her husband. And yet she says, nobody will encourage me or give me the strength I need to go through this but you. And really, the strength has to come from her. But when you've been in an abusive relationship, feel really beat down. And if you feel really beat down, then you start thinking that you're not as important or you're not as valuable and that somehow you deserve it. And that can be really hard to get out of. Sometimes you're afraid to get divorced because you don't know what's going to happen to your kids. If your spouse is an alcoholic or is abusive, you think, I don't want my kids to be alone with him. It's definitely a problem that we have to try to surmount, and I can't tell anybody what to do. I can tell them what I think, but ultimately it's your decision if you wanna get divorced or not. So all of these reasons, health problems, that's another one. Sometimes people have, got severe health problems and the other spouse just can't live with it anymore, and that may sound cruel, but I've seen it where we've worked out a separation where you're still supporting them financially, but you can move on with your life because they're not going to move on. They're disabled to the extent that they can't. Whatever the reason is, if it's your reason, then it's valid. Okay. So don't let anybody tell you how you should live your life, what you should do with your life, or what should make you happy because you're the only one who can make those decisions. I can't tell you. Now, when I started practicing law, I had a therapist. This has been over 30 years ago. I don't even think I'd practiced yet. I was working for a judge. And I told her that when somebody asked me if they should get divorced, I was just going to tell them. I was not going to give them, well, maybe you should do this, maybe you should do this. I was just going to say, yes, I think you should get divorced. And the thing is that I really haven't been able to do it that well. I've still said, I think you should, but there's this and there's this. Ultimately, it's your decision. And again, I know it's a hard one. The next thing we're going to talk about is how you can start that process. Because remember, starting is the hardest part. And there are different ways to start depending on if it's going to be an easy divorce where the two of you have agreed. It's going to be a little more complicated because you don't agree, or it's going to be just a big fight because there's no agreeing anything. Lots of different strategies to talk about. See, today I have Rosie. Potcakes is here too. Anyway, I'll see you for the next chapter of This Is Not Legal Advice.